Please turn your Bibles with me over to the Gospel of John. Gospel of John, chapter 20. It's not going to be too long now that I get to say something different besides turn your Bibles to the book of John. We only have one chapter left after chapter 20. Last week, when we noticed that Jesus came to the locked room and stood amongst those 10 guys that were living in fear, the first thing he said was, peace. Peace to you. Shalom. We noticed that somebody was not there. And that is a huge deal. We're going to read about that this morning in verse 24. Now Thomas, called Didymus, which means the twin, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. Now let's stop there, okay? Don't you wish you know why? Where was he? When he step out to go to the convenience store? I mean, what, you know, was he filling the tank with gas? I mean, well, probably not. We don't know where he was. John could have told us, I'm sure, remembering back over the years, but it didn't matter. The fact is that Thomas wasn't there. It says here, when the other disciples told him that they had seen the Lord, he got really excited and said, good for you guys. That's not what happened. He declared, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it. A week later, his disciples were in this house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and he said, peace be with you. Okay. Have you ever said anything really dumb? Yeah. Yeah. And it's usually because of a pride situation. Usually that's why we say really dumb things. And we wish later that we hadn't said them. Right? Here's Thomas with 9 of the closest people in his life telling them that I'm not going to believe you. I am just not going to believe. I think the 9 of you got together and made up this story because I was at the Go-Mart down the road and I wasn't here. What a silly thing to say. I mean, think about it. Why would you say that? Well, he felt left out, didn't he? I mean, what a time to be gone. Jesus comes and he makes peace with him and says, I'm going to breathe on you. Receive the Spirit. Wow. Wouldn't you hate to miss that? Right? I'm looking for some kind of example that we could possibly understand. I know, and this is a weird analogy, but there's a thing when you play poker in the casinos, okay, and there's 9 people there, 10 with the dealer, and if a special hand is dealt called a bad beat, then everybody at the table gets money, no matter if you were in the hand or what, if you were just at the table. And we're talking about thousands of dollars. Now, you know what happens, though, if you got up from your seat and you went to the restroom? You don't get it. What a drag. And you see some people there needing to go to the bathroom, they won't leave. It's a poor analogy, okay? It's a poor example. But I'm looking for I mean, he was gone. What a time to be gone. What a time. And he makes this really dumb statement. I am not going to believe. Not only am I going to, I have to see his hands. What did he say? I had to put my finger in there. I had to put my hand to his side. And then I'll believe. You grew up hearing Thomas called Doubting Thomas. Right? Because of this. Now this is the same Thomas that made the statement when Jesus said, let's go back to Jerusalem when Lazarus had died. He said, okay, well, let's go die with him. He knew the dangers, but he was willing to go. Okay? And he followed Jesus, and he was there. Yeah, he ran away. And yeah, he was not in that locked room. But don't you think it's strange that 7 days later, he's still there? You can tell me for 7 days, he refused to believe that Jesus has been raised from the dead. For 7 days, he's gone on calling these 10 other guys liars. Isn't that what he's telling them? What a stupid thing to say. What a really stupid thing to say. All of us have been there, though, haven't we? We made some statement to somebody just to hurt their feelings. We made some statement to our parents just to shock them, the shock and awe statements, you know. We made statements to our spouse just to see how far we could push them. We made statements to our kids that we wish we could take back. We've made statements to God. We've said things like, God, you're not fair. You're not fair. God, you're not just. God, this was really a bad plan. We've all said stupid things. And you know, we're still here. We're still here. Let's see what happens when Jesus comes. It says, till the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them, and he said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. And Thomas said to him, my Lord and my God. Then Jesus said to him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Taking care of Thomas. Jesus had to do an encore, didn't he? He had to go back into the locked room one more time to take care of Thomas. And if he would have pretended like Thomas wasn't there, if he would have pretended like Thomas hadn't said anything, do you think that would have been healing for Thomas? No. Jesus needed to take care of Thomas. And if you think that God has not acknowledged that you've said some things, that you've acted some ways, then maybe you haven't received the healing that you need to. When Jesus comes in your presence and says, peace, peace to you. I know what you said. I know how you felt. And I'm still offering you peace. And you need to own up to what you said. You do. You need to own it. And you need to say, I said something stupid. Lord, God, what I need is mercy, not justice. I need mercy. And Jesus understands. And Jesus will take care of your need. And I don't know exactly how it's going to be, and I don't know who he's going to bring into your life, and I don't know who you're going to actually talk about it. Maybe it's your pastor, maybe it's one of the elders, maybe it's some other spiritually close friend you have, but maybe you need to talk about it and get that thing taken care of so Jesus can say to you, peace. Peace. I care enough to deal with what you said. I care enough to deal with what you felt. I care enough to deal with what you did. And I'm offering you peace. Now, for the book of John, we've got this story, which is unique to the book of John.